would you say that you created your destiny?
100%. You will make a lot of mistakes. So make sure those mistakes cost you as little as possible.
And so how does he support you?
You know, it's an excellent question. I think
Hello and welcome to the Elena Cardone Show. Today I have with me Estefania Lacayo. And you are from New York, right?
born and raised in Nicaragua.
Okay.
Grew up in Nicaragua during our civil revolution in the 80s. And then I went to school in Boston
For
fashion merchandising.
Okay.
And then I will go into a really interesting story there. And I did all my summer internships in New York, and I never went back. I never went back until COVID. And I thought I was coming to Miami for a week, and we decided to stay, like many others.
And we got her. Ha! Okay, so how did you get into, travel us along the path of the revolution, first of all. What was that like living through that? And then what made you decide fashion merchandising, and what is fashion merchandising?
That's an excellent question, because that's what my mom asked me when I told her that I wanted to study fashion merchandising. So growing up in Nicaragua during a revolution, I'm not going to lie, I didn't have a tough lifestyle. So I'm not, we were very privileged. And I always knew I loved fashion, and I went to school in Boston. I thought I was going to study journalism. I have dyslexia and ADHD. I had a huge deficiency trying to learn anything during high school, all through my educational component.
Me too.
But I'm convinced today that it's because they just didn't teach me the way that my brain works.
Thank you.
But I was always very insecure about,
Me too.
Not insecure that I thought I was dumb, because I knew I wasn't. Mm-hmm. But I knew that there's just no way I can memorize something. Like even today, I'm just not going to be able to memorize something. But if you give me a problem solving, that's a different story. Or how to build a business, I'll build with my eyes closed. But if you ask me to memorize that paper, that I will definitely fail. So clearly school wasn't for me. My freshman year in Boston, a teacher tells me, I'm in the cafeteria of the school, and she tells me, so what are you thinking of doing this summer? And I'm like, probably traveling, I don't know. And she's like, are you gonna do an internship? And I was like, what are you gonna do after graduating? And she tells me, and I was like, I think I want to work in fashion. And she's like, do you have a visa to work in this country? And I'm like, no idea what she's talking to me about. And I'm like, a visa to work in this country. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, well, if you want to stay working in this country, you're going to have a visa, like a working permit. And I'm like, no idea what you're talking about. So this is 1999. This is before podcasts or any social media whatsoever.
Yep, I'm familiar.
But I knew Vogue. I knew Vogue because I memerized Vogue from head to toe.
Oh, that you could memorize.
That I could memorize.
When it's important enough.
Completely.
Uh-huh.
So I'm in my dorm, and I take the 1-800 number, and I call, and I'm like, can you please transfer me to the fashion department? And they did.
This is Vogue headquarters. And you make it through.
And they transfer
from a 1-800 number
at my dorm and they're like, can you please transfer me? And they transfer me, and the girl that picks up the phone, at that point, her name is Lauren Davis. That today her name is Lauren Santo Domingo.
Are y'all still friends?
Of course. She's the founder of Moda Operandi. Probably the most, one of the most respected persons in the fashion industry.
Wow.
And she's an assistant back then. And she picks up, and I'm like, I'm calling for a summer internship. And she's like, oh, you have to call a year in advance. I'm like, I'm calling for next year. And then I'm like, can I have your email so I can send you my pathetic resume that has nothing in fashion?
Did you say that?
Of course not. But I was like, can you please?
That might have made her go, oh, I like this one.
And she gives me her email. I send her my resume, and I get an email 10 days later. And there's been an opening. Can you be in New York tomorrow?
Okay, wait, why? If you had no fashion experience,
Nothing.
Did you ask her, why did you pick me?
She's like, I like the fact that you called.
Oh.
You called, and and I just, I was like, I remember speaking to you, and you just gave me a good energy hit. So I got there, and so not prepared for any interview whatsoever. This is like, I have no mentors in the fashion world. I have no mentors whatsoever. Let's discuss the fact that I have never been a good student. I've never had an internship in my life at that point. It's not like the kid that goes to an Ivy League school and has had summer internships at high school. This is not the case for me. And I get there and I get to the 12th floor of Vogue when it was at the headquarters of Times Square. And
that must have been intimidating. Was it?
I didn't feel intimidated.
Or was it? It was so far out there, it wasn't even intimidating. You didn't even know to be intimidated by it.
It felt so. I knew everyone. I knew everyone's face because I had I knew.
So you did the research. You studied.
I would literally read this magazine every single week.
Get out.
Back in the day, like we would see names of people, right? That's how we would. So I'm talking to her and I'm like, wow, that's Grace Whittington. And I'm telling her who all these people are. And she's like, how do you know who everyone is? And I'm like, that's all I do. She's like, that's all I used to do. And she's like, when can you start? And I told her, I was like, my last day of school is like, I think it's like the 1st of June. So I can start the 2nd. She's like, how long can you work here? And I'm like, I go back to school like September 10th. And I'm like, I guess September 9th. And she's like, you're not going to take vacation? I'm like, this is vacation. I can't think of anything better in life than to be here. And the moment I showed up there, I literally realized that George Bush was president. The twins were interning at the same time. I realized that everyone there their dad was a Rockefeller, or they were the daughters of the president of the United States. I was the only Latina there in that room. And I realized, wow, this is actually amazing. This is actually unbelievable. We talk about inclusivity, and I never by any chance ever thought like not inclusive, like whatsoever. That is not the case here. I never felt.
Do you feel that way now?
No, not at all. I've never felt that before.
Yeah. Okay,
I have never felt that before, ever.
Okay.
I couldn't, even if I wanted to make up a story, no.
Yeah.
But I realized that if these girls show up at 9 in the morning, I'm going to get there at 7:30. And if they leave at 8 p.m., I want to leave at 10 p.m. And if who wants to do that photo shoot with that editor for that celebrity on the weekends, I always want to do it. So I got invited every other summer, and the rest is history. So my point to this story is...
And they didn't pay you?
No, of course not. For me, it was... I didn't even...
Of course.
It was
but now,
I should pay them. I felt like, you're giving me the biggest gift in life, you know?
1,000,000%. So you could afford to fund your living.
I could afford there. As an intern. I was blessed that I could afford to, especially in New York. But I did put the extra time. I put for many summers and still today. Like, I think that those limitations, you put those limitations to yourself. I think anything, like there's no excuse whatsoever.
Would you say that you created your destiny?
100%.
Yeah. So walk me through that rest of that piece. So you're doing these internships. Did you ever get a full-time job with Vogue?
Yeah.
So what did you do for Vogue?
An assistant, an editor assistant. And then after that, I decided that I wanted to be a buyer. And that's the perks of being at Vogue, that they just randomly call the person that you want to work for, and you get an interview pretty quickly.
So what does that mean, a buyer for Vogue?
So I wanted to be a buyer. So at that point, this is 2003.
A buyer, what is that?
Buyer is someone that buys product for a store.
Okay, but are you working for Vogue as a buyer, or you want to leave and go work for another company as a buyer? I
wanted to leave Vogue to go become a buyer.
Got you.
For a company back then that doesn't exist anymore that was called Vive. There was a luxury catalog, very luxurious catalog. And I knew the future was going to be .com. And at that point, there was only a platform in London that had just recently launched called Net-a-Porter. I didn't want to move to London. And there was one happening in New York that was much more beautiful at that point. So I wanted to go work for her. And I did. And I was there for 5 years. And I started growing as an entrepreneur. I became an assistant buyer. Then I became the buyer of accessories.
Well, from that point, like, are you running into like did you ever have a big mistake or a big challenge along the way, or like
many challenges?
And how did you work through those? What were they, and how did you work through that?
I had many challenges, but I think the way I see them now, I think they made me who I am today. So I think the fashion industry was a very catty world back then. Mm-hmm. So no, I never had any problem with inclusivity or anything like that. But you would put in the works of like an investment banker, for sure. You were working from 8 a.m. to 2 in the morning, 5 days a week, many days, many weeks of the year.
So you don't have a dating life or anything like that?
I did. I figured out a way how to still have a dating life, but you don't. But the point is that, like, for me, it was all part of the journey. I knew that the moment I saw New York and I saw the energy of New York, I knew that I belonged in New York, and I knew that I needed to create a career. So just the same, it was a mindset. I was like, it's fine. I never, it's an attitude. And I think it's part of my sign, and it's part of my attitude that I have towards life. I never feel sorry about myself in anything. Like if I'm struggling through something, if I'm having a problem with my boss back then, I'm going back. I never felt like I'm doing something wrong. I always felt like this is part of it. Like there's no time to waste. Like, like just keep going.
For the woman out there that's like, how do you do that? They don't know how to do that. They suffer get their feelings hurt maybe with the boss, or they feel overwhelmed. How do you do that? How do you tell them?
Genuinely, I think I was born like that. But my advice when I mentor, different young entrepreneurs all the time, I tell them it's an attitude. It's an attitude. It's a mindset that you decide to take every single day that you wake up. Or you're a victim, or you're a winner. It's literally a mindset. And it's the way you approach. You're going to have problems every single day of your life, from the moment that you start a business to the moment that you want to exit that business. But it's an attitude how you approach every single problem that comes your way. And that is the same attitude that you should take with your partner in your relationship, dating, or as a family. Now I'm married with kids, with my kids. You decide what to do. So I think that's one thing. Another advice that I would give them is surrounding yourself with the right people. I have a friend of mine that gave me this advice, and I love this advice, which is we all have that phone that rings sometimes, and we're like, ugh, I don't want to pick up. It could be someone that you work with. It could be your boyfriend. It could be a friend that you've had since you were a child, and you love her because she's been your friend but you have nothing in common with her anymore. Mm-hmm. And every time you see her, she just brings you down.
Yes.
She tells you everything negative.
Yep.
And it's like, you need to delete that person from your life immediately, because that person is not letting you grow.
Right.
Immediately, you just got to be blunt and get them out of your life.
Yeah.
So I have that type of rule. I like surrounding myself with women that lift me up. I like surrounding myself. I don't have time. I don't have time for BS. I really want to surround myself with women that lift me up. And I say women because the majority of everything I do is with women. But so I do surround myself. I surround myself with people that are smarter than me. I believe that you follow success. So surround yourself with people that are more successful than you are, or that you aspire
friends?
to be. I have friends, yeah.
Like friends that you don't have any business with?
I do.
And what do you do with these friends?
I talk about business. It's probably people that I have things in common with. Mm-hmm. So we talk about.
And you just components. Like randomly call them? Like, I don't have friends, just so you know, that I don't do business with. So that's why I'm really.
I don't do business with friends, but I have.
Oh, why not? You don't do collaborations?
Collaborations, yes. But that I've started a business, I did once, and I had a really big falling out.
Yeah.
So I kind of got burned out there.
Yeah.
And I know that business partnerships work sometimes amazingly. For me right now, it's working amazingly.
I've had it both ways.
But I've also had it.
It's nasty when it doesn't work out.
It's really nasty,
good.
and it's emotionally nasty.
It is.
So it's not only economically nasty, but it's emotionally nasty.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that I learned the most from when it didn't work from my last venture is make sure that business partner brings all the skills that you don't have to the table. So with my business partner right now, it's worked really well the past 6 years because Samantha has every skill set that I don't have.
Beautiful.
And vice versa. So
Beautiful.
like we just complement each other really
Yeah,
well
because-
because what she's good at, I'm pretty awful at it and I don't even want to learn.
Same.
You know what I mean? Like I don't want to learn how to draft a perfect email because my brain doesn't work like that.
Mine either. You and I think are probably a lot alike.
Definitely.
You know, with the school, and I'm a creative too.
Yeah.
But now, when it comes to fashion, you can definitely teach me because
I
I
doubt
have
it.
no idea. I have no idea what I'm doing. I
I don't
depend
think
on my
so.
woman force to back me on that. Okay, so now I'm understanding the friend thing. That's good. That's good. How important is a team?
Extremely important. Team is everything and it's the hardest thing to build.
How do you build a team?
I have a set of rules that we started at Laughs when we started 6 years ago. And
What is
everyone
it?
starts as an internship.
Oh, this is the Latin America Fashion Summit.
It started as Latin American Fashion Summit. And now we just call it LAFS because now it's so much more than a summit. And the way that we've done it is we start by internships. And I don't care how successful you are. I don't look at resumes because if people would look at my resume,
Me either. How
It
do
would
you
be-
interview? Do you send me a 30-second video?
100%.
Me too.
Because your resume is nothing to me. I don't care if you went to Harvard. I don't care if you went to
I
Oxford.
never went to college.
I mean, I went
No clue.
nowhere and I
Yeah.
would have failed everything. And today I did a mentorship at Oxford and yesterday I did a mentorship at Cambridge. And I give mentorships all the time to Ivy League schools now where I teach all the time. And I would have
Wow.
never been able to
so
graduate.
you teach?
I teach at schools all the time
What
now.
do you teach?
Leadership.
And then we'll get back to the team.
We'll go
but-
back leadership, how to scale a business, how to start an idea to becoming a business. I love talking about what we were talking about just recently, which is about finding balance and surrounding yourself with people that lift you up. I love because I find that it's so important about sharing to young entrepreneurs that are thinking about launching something. I want to give them any feedback that can help them spend their money wisely.
What is that? What's that tip?
Well, number one is stop talking and just go execute.
Yes.
Number one. There's
Love.
way too much talking. It's like they spend years
Stop
creating
planning.
a business plan.
Pick up the phone.
It's
Start
ridiculous.
going.
It's like go out there,
Yeah, let's do
sell
it.
that
Sell
idea,
it.
make sure someone needs to buy it. And sell it to one of your friends. Show me that there's a proven concept. And once, because it's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. People get this crazy valuations for an idea that they haven't even gone to sell.
They think it's going to sell itself. Oh, I'm going to put an Instagram post and
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh.
So
yes.
yeah, don't even get me started with
Me
that.
too.
So I feel like go sell it. Go sell whatever you have to sell. You will learn. You will make a lot of mistakes. So make sure those mistakes cost you as little as possible by allocating the least money as possible at the beginning. Because if you allocate X amount of dollars, you'll probably lose some because it's a lot of, learning curve.
Right. It is. Like if you spend $50,000 on a marketing campaign funnel when no one knows who you are, they don't know you, trust you to then go click on it and say, yeah, I'm going to buy it. So you're saying like, go prove the concept, do a podcast
Build a community,
like this, build a
start a
community,
co-
get
yeah.
yourself out there, build the brand. Then once people are kind of familiar with you, then spend the money and then put more into marketing.
That I always give that advice. It's like when I hear, entrepreneurs like wanting to allocate money, like they're gonna go raise capital and they want to allocate money into PR and marketing dollars when they haven't even launched. I'm like, you're gonna market what? No one knows you're existing. There's no storytelling. Go tell the story to the world first. Launch a podcast, launch a newsletter, go out there, do whatever you have to do, and then you market. But you can't just go market something and, oh, now I'm direct to consumer if you're a brand. And it's like, how are people going to know that you're online? Like, they're just going to randomly appear into your website?
Yeah. If they don't know you, they can't flow you.
So that's one thing. But yeah.
Okay, so all right, that is very valuable. All right, getting back to the team thing, just briefly, how do you organize and run a team?
I'm still trying to figure that one out,
Okay.
but because I don't have organizational skills. But I make sure that I hire the people that don't have the skill sets that I do. So for example, I know that I'm not organized. I make sure that I'm surrounding myself by people that are extremely organized. I know that I don't have great writing skills because I have dyslexia and ADHD. So I make sure that I have the right people next to me always that have perfection grammar. Operational skills. I make sure that we hire the right COO that's going to help us scale the business and is going to let
How do
me
you qualify
execute.
the COO?
By him interning with us. I don't care if he has 40 years of experience. And we don't call it an internship at the beginning because you're not going to have that person, but he can work on a project for us, a paid project for us for like 6 months. And I can see what the person is built in 6 months. I know that
So you
person.
hire, you'll take somebody that's never done it before?
100%.
Oh, okay.
I believe so much. Maybe like a COO position. It's a different type of, you need someone that brings a Rolodex to the table, different skill sets.
Yeah. Processes, procedures.
Correct. So you definitely want someone that has done that,
Manager, knows how to manage people. Yeah.
But for, I would say not such C-level positions. I believe that hustle is so much more important than a resume. I want to see what you're building. I think there's nothing that you can't learn in life. There's nothing that I can't teach you or that you could learn by someone else that you might, but I can't give you hustleness.
Right.
You have that or you don't.
How do you be able to determine if somebody has that
immediately?
immediately?
You're an entrepreneur. You know that instantly.
Oh,
know the moment that someone walks.
Not always. Sometimes
But a month
they
into
can,
it.
Oh, yes.
A month into it.
A month into it
it in a summer internship, you will know if that person has the initiative and the drive of like, I think we should create a TikTok. I think, and they don't even tell me like, I think we should start doing more interesting things on LinkedIn. I think that's an initiative you take.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't teach you that. You have it or you don't.
Right. And what you did, stay early, come in early,
Correct.
stay late, willing to work.
100%.
Do they come in? When do I have off? But the way you do it with the internship is really good because if they're willing to work for free, they're not going to be looking for a day off.
And forget free. If you will know if they have that good attitude towards life on problem solvings, on something went wrong with an event that we're creating and how do they react to that problem, you'll be able to see their personality skill sets in a month perfectly.
Absolutely.
And I think that goes for anyone.
In the alignment phase, that it sounds like that internship is that part where they come in and get aligned to your values for the company,
totally,
the mission, indoctrinated on the processes that you and the culture.
And for me,
the
culture is super important. But I find it super important in the culture. This drive, this woman drive of like that. You will grow. I will give you all the opportunities in the world to grow if you show me that you want to grow. If you show me that, that you have the good attitude towards life, I will make sure that you succeed and you grow with us. Or you grow with whoever you want to grow with later, right? But if you show me that, you're responding because it's also a generational thing. Like, we're getting all the time people that like might be, can I get back to you on Monday? Because I'm sending someone an email at 6:30 p.m. on a Friday. And I'm like, I know that you don't have the right attitude. You could be able to respond something at 6:30. I don't care. I know that it sounds so rough, but
I'm the same way. I have to refrain. So
I'm sorry, but no.
I'm like, I have to just send my communication out
because I will forget.
Me too.
I will forget.
The communication has to go out. It's up to you whether you respond or not. But
it needs to be out.
Responds on the weekend, on holidays. I'm like, I don't need my team.
And I don't need you to solve me the problem. But if I don't tell you, it's gone.
Yeah. And I'm not like a good, notes to come back later. Because you and I are doing now.
Yeah, at 2 in the morning, you're thinking of something and you're sending that email.
I will forget.
Me too.
That's why I have everybody in place because that's my weakness. Like as soon as I just forget
what is it
everything.
for you? How do you find those people?
Oh, well, we have a hiring process too, where there's a whole interview process. One of the first questions that we have, okay, so there's three parts of our processing. The first is, are we the right fit? Then there's going to be a second interview that's more of a technical, to see how they apply, where they demonstrate it. So the first one is first question on the interview process: what research have you done about the company? Oh, I didn't do my research. I don't need to. Okay, great. We're not a right fit at this moment. You know, it's like you had all the Vogue people figured out. You didn't need this resume. Like, do your research.
100%.
If they, if they ask us, and then there's other little sets of questions that we do. Tell me how you. It says here you're applying for the X, Y, and Z. Tell me how you did that in your last job and what were the results. Like, show me, how did you implement that? So now they're telling me, tell me about your last 3 jobs. Then I listen. Are they complaining about their employers? Was everyone terrible? What do they say? Then they're out, because they're going to leave and go say the same horrible things about me. Or if they're like, oh, you listen. Then the second part is okay, here's your information. If I'm hiring for the video editor, the one that's going to put out the content. Yep. Okay, so this is the system, the platform that we use. The next time you come in, I'm going to want you to know how to work that. And so then I will give them an instruction: take this 10-minute video and cut me a 1-minute piece. And then I want to see, can they do it? Do they complicate it? what do they do? Because that tells me so much.
That tells you so much of their attitude and their everything.
It tells me their attitude. It doesn't need to be perfect. Are they asking 10 million questions? Stopping me? Do they understand the duplication? Or do they work with what they have? Did they come up with something creative? If I asked for a minute video and I get a 3-minute video, I know that they're going to overcomplicate and not deliver what I needed. See, I just want duplication. If I ask for a minute, I want a minute.
You saw it there.
So I look at all these red flags, and so anyway, then once they come on, it's the same thing. It's
the same thing. The red flags, I can see them in an internship.
It's the red flags. It's,
or in a project, in a project for a summit that we're creating. I can see the red flags in a project of 3 days. Are they giving me
What's one of your big red flags? So you see it and you're like, they're out.
They're coming with every single problem to me instead of solving it themselves before they come to the problem. I want to know, I don't want to hear it. I'm going through a million things. We just had a big conference in Miami at the Miami Design District 2 weeks ago. Imagine, instead of this person, this editor, their flight is running a little bit behind. Instead of telling me just tell me I already spoke to production and we can move the panel 20 minutes ahead. Come with me.
Give me the solutions. Give me my A, B, and C options.
Exactly. Before you tell me that there's a problem.
That's right. So we can either do X, Y, Z. What's the best way you want me to handle this? No problem.
Exactly.
I love that. Yeah. Okay. So what are your standards?
Honesty. I think the human component is by far the traits that I look for the most in people in general, people that I surround myself with the business that I'm building. And I give this advice to any business that you're building, making sure, because also no school can teach you that. And let's not take it for granted. I can't teach you how to be an honest person. I can't teach you to be someone that respect others and respect their colleagues and respect. So that's by far, I'm zero tolerant for that. I need people that, I don't like people criticizing other people. I like good energy. I don't like gossiping.
Me either. That's death.
For me, is death gossip.
It is
I
death.
hate gossip so much.
That will destroy the empire from within.
I hate gossips.
Me too.
I don't have time for gossip. I'm building a business. I don't have time for gossip. I don't like gossips. I think gossip is for not smart people. It's people that have so much time in their hand that they just want to gossip and just be reading gossips. I don't have time for that. I think it's just making us dumb. It's ridiculous. So I don't like those people in my business.
Yeah.
I like people with good energy that are there for the right reasons, for the right purpose that I have,
Right. Now, you're married.
You have 2 kids.
How old?
9 and 7. A boy and a daughter.
So I'm going to ask you the question that I always get asked about this work-life balance. What does that mean to you?
It means nothing.
Me too.
It means nothing.
I'm still trying to figure out the answer, so I'm going to ask you. I don't have balance. I have juggling.
The answer is sometimes I'm a really shitty wife. Some days I'm a shitty mom. Sometimes I'm a shitty leader. Sometimes I'm a shitty teacher because, you have to check the homeworks of our kids. Sometimes I'm a great mother. Sometimes I'm a great wife. Sometimes I'm a great leader. I think we need to stop being so hard on ourselves. We are so hard on ourselves. We're super hard. And it's never going to be perfect. We're never going to be perfect at all of the jobs that we have. But I think we're pretty good at it. We're pretty amazing. Women have this unbelievable ability set that men don't have. I'm sorry, guys, but you just don't have them. We can multitask like no other. It's the
necessity level.
It's unbelievable. We can be checking if their tutor arrived to the house. I can be in New York City, walking into a venture capital meeting, and I can be checking if the tutor has arrived and if the piano teacher has arrived, or if they're running behind and they're emailing me from my house that I need to buy groceries. And I'm doing it, all of the above at the same time. We can find a way how to do it. But am I there checking their homework that day? No. Am I there? No, my husband is there because it's a balance. We're both parents. We're doing this together, right? But the moment it's key to find yourself the right person. Get married with the right person that also lifts you up. I'm very blessed that I'm married to a man that fully lifts me up. I think it's super important. So you guys are not married, make sure you date someone that really is confident with a woman that wants to be successful.
And how do they know that? How do they find this? Some audience members are like, well, how do I know if that's the one? What are the signs? And how does he, what's an example of how he lifts you up so they know what to look for?
It's an excellent question. And I think now that I'm thinking it for the first time, and I think is, as a woman, I don't know if this happened to you, but many women, this did not happen to me because I have a very strong mother that is a full entrepreneur. So I was raised by a really strong entrepreneur woman. So I never felt uncomfortable around men telling them how ambitious I was. And I'm still not. I'm very openly about it because I think it's okay for a woman to be extremely ambitious. I was always very confident telling my ex-boyfriends and the man I married how ambitious I was. I had no problem because some women don't like telling that story because they feel like they're going to see them, they're going to be threatened, or they're going to be thinking that they're gold diggers. When I'm like, wait a second, no. Don't get me wrong. I want to have my own money or we could build things together. But I mean, it's not a competition. I'm very driven because I want to do something on my own. And I was always very confident also telling my husband, and when he started dating, about the things that I liked. I was never the person that he's married to today is the person he dated. I never evolved into a different woman.
No?
No, I think I've become a more sensitive woman towards people. And that has given me a different, mindset and different values of the way I see life and the way I want to be of service into this world. But I think the things that I've enjoyed in life, the things that I've liked, they have been the same always. I've always loved fashion. I've always loved art. I've always loved.
And so you never threatened him.
No, I never threatened him. But
what about previous boyfriends? Were they ever intimidated by you, or you've always kind of picked right?
I don't think I always picked right because I definitely didn't marry them. But I think I definitely don't feel like I was around men that were that felt very, very confident about me.
Did they make as much money as you?
Not all.
Mm-hmm. And they were okay with that?
I mean, I was young, so,
Yeah. So now what made you decide to marry your husband? How was he different?
It's so interesting because prior to my husband, I was born in Nicaragua, and I was born Catholic.
Me
Even
too.
though
Yeah.
I'm not religious, I mean, I'm very spiritual, and we pray every day with my kids to God, but that God, he could have whatever name he wants, right? But prior to my husband, my ex-boyfriends were Jewish.
Really?
Only Jewish men would come up to me.
Wow.
I have no idea why. Like, only Jewish man would come up to me in Boston. It was like a Jewish attraction. Now I understand. I have a lot of Israeli friends, and I'm like, I kind of look Jewish. So now I get it why. They probably thought I was Jewish. And I had just recently broken up with my ex-boyfriend, and I'm telling my husband, who was my friend for many years prior to started dating him, and he's like, this is ridiculous. You're always dating these Jewish guys that they're never going to get married to you because you're not Jewish. So you're not chosen.
And this is now your husband.
My husband,
But
we've
back
been
then
married
he
for
was-
12 years.
Okay.
And I started like, he's like, you should just marry someone like me. And I was like, so ridiculous. He's always like flirting with me and all of my friends, by the way. He wasn't like
Just flirting with you. He was flirting with all of them.
He was flirting with all of them up.
Mm-hmm.
And
That was a tactic.
so, but it kind of worked, you know. I couldn't travel because I was doing my transition to my, at that point, I think it was, I don't even know what a visa, like from '01 to like maybe like my residency. So I couldn't travel for like 3 weeks the country. And he sent me flowers for Christmas. And I was like, that's so ridiculous. I wonder if he was serious with what he told me for dinner that night. I was like, and then he like, the conversation with him changed completely. And then he's like, so I booked us a flight to go to Italy. I was like, what are you, like, I haven't even kissed
Now, this
him.
was
is
your
so weird.
friend.
This is my friend. I'm like, this is really strange.
Oh, he's slick. I like this.
And my mom liked him as a like she always tell them.
Oh,
So
God.
then you have your mom
That's
saying like, I
happened.
like him.
Grant was the only guy that my parents ever liked.
My mom the same.
Oh, go on.
So then the conversation changed, and that was that. And then we started dating. So there's no like romantic story like we saw each other. We knew each other as friends. Like
That's
I knew
great.
I had gone to school in Boston with his younger brother.
Right.
My college roommate had dated her middle brother because they're 3 boys. So I knew his family, but I met him later. He's the oldest one. But yeah.
And so how does he support you? I mean, obviously he's monogamous.
How do I support him?
How does he support you?
Well, number one, I don't think I've ever asked him, can I go to New York tomorrow for a business meeting? I let him know. I tell him, I will be going to New York on Thursday so that you make sure to be home earlier so that the kids are not alone with the nannies. I let him know. He has never, ever, we've been married for 12 years. He's never in 12 years has asked me,
Or try to
what
stop
are you going to New York for? What is the meeting? Like, he's never questioned me. Like, you have 4 events this week. Why do you have that 4 events? Like, never. He's never, like, by any mean has made me feel like I'm working too much and I'm not giving time to my kids. Or he's made me feel like I'm not being a good mom or a good wife. Or like, what am I doing out at an event without him? He's never, ever made me feel that. And if I would have a man that would be machista or super jealous, I wouldn't be able to do all of that because I have to give an example to my daughter and to my son about that it's okay that their mom works a lot. I don't want to feel sorry about it. Like, no, I don't want to, like, it's okay. Like, and this is something really interesting, but in New York, majority of the women work. And when I moved to Key Biscayne, and a lot of women don't work in Key Biscayne. And my kids started telling me for the first time, Mom, why do you always have to work? You're the only one that doesn't work. I'm like, I promise you, I'm not the only one that works. It's just that you're seeing a lot of people that don't work. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
I respect so many people that don't work. But if they would have a father that would be telling them a different vocabulary,
yes,
it wouldn't allow me to like dream so big.
That's right. Wow.
So I think that's how he supports me, And
that is beautiful.
But that's all I need, right?
Yeah.
I don't need anything else. That's everything for me.
That is, because we've been married for 20 years and people always ask me, what's the success of a good marriage? And most people say communication. And for me, I say, well, I've evolved and figured out that the greatest act of love that I can give and receive is when we're helping each other achieve our goals and our dreams. Because that's when I'm the happiest, when I'm achieving my goals and my dreams, whether it's as a wife, as a businesswoman, and as a mother. If he's helping me to win in those areas where my goals are, I love him more, I'll fight for him more, we're more fortified. And the same thing, you know, I'm never going to say when's enough, you work too much, when are you happy, you don't spend enough time. I've never put that on the children's plates. Ever. If he can't make a birthday, it was, we get to have 2 birthdays, one with your friends, one with the papa. We're celebrating all week. This is fabulous.
Totally.
You know, never even make it like
that's a great idea. The kid, the 2 birthdays. What a great idea. Do you know what I'm saying? Because he couldn't make one because he had a work thing. And I was like, I'm not going to go tell him their father they were young, 5, 6, couldn't make their birthday. I'm going to go tell them we get to celebrate twice. And, you know, and they're like, yay, you know, it's how you, so I love that you say that the conversation would be different if he had said it that way. So that I really understand what you're saying. And so it's interesting because what you're saying is very similar to what I'm saying. It comes back to like independence, and it's independence and empowering by the word empowering is like allowing you to have your own dreams. Mm-hmm. People think that just because you get married, your dreams are like to be married and to be a wife and a mom. And I'm like, no, I have other dreams than just being a mom and a wife.
That's right.
You know?
And there's nothing wrong. I chose to not do business when my children were very young. I wanted to just do the mother thing. And that was fulfilling at that time. And now that they're 12 and 14, now I have this whole other thing. I'm also 50 now. I have this life experience. I've spent thousands of hours self-enhancing myself with everything that I've learned. So I feel like now I have this new branch of this area that I was telling you about with Empire and this women's movement and, you know, really being behind the woman so she can build her empire.
I love that.
Thank you. So it's great that like I have a husband that supports me and wanting that.
Yeah, because you wanted different things. When you were 40, you wanted different things, you know?
That's right. And it's
that person that's supporting you in that journey that you have at that moment and not questioning you.
Right. That's why I said you haven't changed, which was maybe taken out of context because
I have evolved.
I mean, yeah, you're still the same ethical person.
But maybe to be quite honest, I was always very driven, even though I think people that probably went to high school with me wouldn't think, you know, that I was going to be teaching mentoring sessions at Oxford University. Those skills that probably came out later in life. But no, I didn't. Not so much.
Do you teach people how to do fashion? Like if I had a room full of women like myself, for instance, that I'm not downplaying myself here. I really don't have a clue.
I find it hard to believe.
Well, I'm starting to now ask questions, and my friends, are helping me more with this. But let's say I had a room full of women. Could you come in and speak for 30 minutes or an hour on, okay, just in your closet, these are the staples. This is how you would pair something up with for this kind of a look, or this is what you could do to spice this look up. Like, is that something you do?
No, it's not my skill sets. No.
Okay. You do more leadership.
Stylists should do that. And there's wonderful stylists that we collaborate in our business that do an amazing job at it. But no, that wouldn't be my skill sets. Could I do it? Yes, but it's just not.
That's not your wheelhouse.
That is not like.
Got it.
There's so many people that would do that in a much better way that could teach you the right colorway for your skin, what's better for a camera, not a camera. I mean, there's just people that do this for a living and they're amazing at it.
Okay. I'll get those names from you afterwards because I have an idea, yet another idea where I want a woman to come in.
That's a huge business, yeah.
You know, to be able to.
People need help in
provide that as a little luxury for us.
I like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess my last question is what does what is the concept? You know, I was telling you earlier, my husband wrote this book, 10X Rule, and now we have the whole 10X empire. You may not fully understand what all of that means, but when you hear 10X or empire, what does that mean to you when you just hear it initially, knowing what you know and do from your life now?
10X rule for me, just by hearing it, is probably a set of mind of where you want to be.
Very good. Yeah.
I always talk about the journey, not thinking about that. And it could be 10X rule, it could be 15X rule. My point is, like, I think when people start a business, when they think about the finish line immediately. When I think of a business, and when I want to mentor someone into a business, and hearing the number, I think of where you want to be as a business. Like, how ambitious you are, how big do you think this idea could become?
Yes.
So when I think of 10X, is like that idea could become a 10X.
I love that.
It could take you 5 years. It could take you 10 years. But there is a story that it could be a 10X. So that's what I think of it. What is it? Because I haven't read the book.
Well, it's that. It is about whatever your idea and your concept of it is, times it by 10, overshoot it. And if you fall short, you still overshot your original. Because most people underestimate the correct estimation of what it takes. They're not thinking. So it's really about 10X in mindset. It's really about 10X in action, 10X in expansion, and 10X in abundance. But really in the actions, that whatever you think it takes, 10X it.
100%.
Yeah.
And it never ends at 10X. I feel like people always tell me, it's like, you've built this platform in 5 years. It's like, when do you want to have, like, I'm like, it never stops. It's like, maybe I'll sell it in 3 years. But then after that, I'm already thinking about what I'm doing next. I'm thinking about the moment that I sell the company, what I will be doing. Like, it should never stop. So like that 10X, it becomes, this idea can evolve into so many different ideas. Like what you guys have created, you know, there could be so many verticals in that idea. So that 10X should never stop, because I feel like the finish line never stops.
It never stops. It keeps moving.
That's why you never stop learning.
Never.
You never stop having mentors. You never start. Like, I love going to summits, by the way. I love going to summits. Love it.
Me too.
Well, my idea of the conference that I started, LAFS, was from the Aston Institute. I walked into that room. I hadn't worked for 4 years because I had become a mom. And my husband pushed me. He's like, we're in Aspen. I want you to come to the Ideas Festival with me.
Good, supportive husband.
And I was like, why? And he's like, just please come. Like, you just need to come. And my kids were young. They were, they were back in Aspen. And I walked in there, and I walked in that room, and I was like, I know what I'm doing next. And he's like, what? I'm going to do whatever it's happening here right now. I'm going to do this for the world of retail and fashion. And he's like, you're going to do what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a conference. I'm going to invite speakers. This sounds pretty amazing. He's like, how are you going to get sponsors? I'm like, can't be that hard. I'm going to call them up. I'm sure a lot will say no, but some will say yes. How are you going to get speakers? I don't know. I've worked in fashion for so long. I know a lot of people, but I don't know. Some will say yes. Some will say no. I don't know. Why are you asking me so much? Like, I'll figure it out. But I know what else. I will know
the rest.
And in 7 months later, I put together my first summit.
Tell me about that real quick. First summit, did you pay speakers?
I have never paid $1 to one speaker.
Wow.
Never. The first thing I did was, I didn't want to understand how people were doing it. I don't care. I don't care how other people are doing it. I know how I'm going to do it. I'm not going to pay anyone, because the way I saw it was like, this is ridiculous. I'm giving you a platform where you're going to go tell your story. You should pay me. I was like, are you kidding me? You should pay me.
Some people do pay to speak on stages.
90% of my speakers today are paid.
Wow.
Are big sponsors. I mean, if I'm giving you an audience to an X large company because they're launching a product, they should be paying me. I'm giving you an audience of 800 physical women that have high spending power and 3,000 virtual, you should probably pay me. I don't pay you. You pay me.
I love it.
So I was like, I met with different founders of different companies, and I realized how some people were doing it. I'm like, I'm not going to pay anyone. I'll probably have to pay flights and hotels because, that's probably the right thing to do.
Yep.
But the moment that, I wish I could have like an amazing motivational speaker that I haven't had today. I have no doubt that we will get. But so far, we've had a Pharrell Williams. We've had amazing speakers, and we've never paid a dollar to anyone. Today, we collaborate with mostly all of them. In 7 months, I put together my first conference. With no deck, no business plan, I literally just executed on it. I had no idea. 350 people showed up at the Rosewood at the Riviera Maya in Mexico.
That was a risk for you. You had to fund that before you knew you sold the tickets.
I had to fund that. But I started selling sponsorships. I started calling people, and I'm like, I'm going to sell this sponsorship to Farfetch. And so you had your connections. I had connections because I had worked in fashion for many years, even though I had stopped working for 4 years. But I never stopped networking in those 4 years. I kept in touch with people, and I always loved giving that advice to entrepreneurs. And the rest is history. Now we create 2 conferences a year. Now we have a digital platform. Now we have our podcast. Now we have our newsletter. Now we have our digital platform that is called Tribu, that is like a LinkedIn for the entire ecosystem of retailers, investors, manufacturers, textilers. If you want to connect, you pay $295 and you log in there. We sell experiences, over 100 experiences a year.
What kind of experiences?
So imagine Erin Lauder wants to launch a new perfume. Mm-hmm. So she pays us for an experience, and she wants to do a lunch in Miami for 25 girls. So we sell an experience, and we sell experiences to companies in beauty, wellness, fashion, bank. We have allies in like Google. We have allies in banks like MasterCard. We just closed a big partnership with MasterCard Experiences, where we are doing multiple priceless experiences for them. And we do anything from music, sports, fashion. Man, so it's a lot of verticals now. So you only
do it internally?
No.
Or maybe we can talk after too. But like you like I could somehow, like, does Matt, yeah.
100%. Like we work with IMG. We work with different companies. Like it could be a MasterCard, or it could be a Google, or it could be a luxury stores at Amazon.
So if I said, I want to go,
I want to go launch my book.
Yeah. Okay,
I want to launch my podcast is launching in January, and I want to create an event for 50 women in Miami, the affluent Latinas, to know that we're launching. So we'll put together that lunch for you. But and
then do you provide the women, or do
I provide the women. You keep the data. But I also create the experience. Nobody wants to go to just a lunch. So is this
kind of like what Hot Living does?
Different because it's part of our umbrella. Like we create it through content. Like I feel like nobody wants to come to a lunch and just say hi to you. People want to know your story. Yeah. People want the storytelling. People more and more today, the consumer, whatever you're selling, regardless if it's a podcast or if it's a product or if it's a pair of shoes, people want to know the story behind those pair of shoes, right?
Yes.
They want to know the woman behind. I
want to know the story behind the art or anything. Chanel, whatever.
So we'll
brand.
do the experience like at the Rubel Museum, and we'll do like a talk where maybe like I'll interview you, and you get to talk for 30 minutes about your purpose and your mission and what drove you to launch this. Oh my gosh. And then you get to network with 30 women that are not part of your network, that are key target areas that you want to go after. And we do that and we could sell, there's times in the year where we have 3 events happening that same day in different cities. It could be one in Colombia for Michael Kors, one for Audemars Piguet in Mexico City, and one in Miami for a New York company, hosting something that wants to go after raising capital.
If somebody's heard this and they want to find out how to reach out to you because they're interested in having you help them with that. I know I am. We're talking afterwards. I want to see how we can work together.
I'm sure it's going to be a lot. We think very likely.
Oh,
So you go into our website, lafs.com. You could find any information there.
Okay, great. Well, it has been amazing talking with you today. I am fascinated, inspired, motivated. Anything I can ever do to help
So much.
you, please reach out. I'd love to.
I want to read the
have
book.
that. Okay.
I'm excited.
Oh, I love that. I'll also have it on audio too.
Oh, that works better for me.
Me too. Okay. So there you have it. Estefania Lacayo. How'd I do?
You did perfect.
I did it perfect. Thank you so much for being on the Elena Cardone show and bringing all of your insight. It has helped me, and I know it's helped you. Thank you so much.
It's about to grace us, whether extraordinary, 10x skill. 10x badass. Yeah, I'm after what I want. Money that I'm